Welcome to the Gastro Girl Podcast. We bring together patients, experts, and health advocates who are all here to help you optimize your health. Here's your host, Jacqueline Gaulin.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a special episode of the Gastro Girl Podcast. We're joined by the amazing gastroenterologist and hepatologist, Dr. Brian Dooreck in the Miami, Florida area. And he's going to tell us all about this pretty awesome program that he's put together that really helps patients and providers once a diagnosis of colorectal cancer comes in and you're just like, oh my God, what next? And he's going to tell us all about what he's done, what inspired him to do this program. So Dr. Dooreck, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thanks for having me. And I'll take the amazing and attach that to the 14,000 other colleagues of mine who are gastroenterologists in this country.
Dr. Dooreck, tell us all about your program, how you started it, why you started it. I'm just going to let you take the floor and explain all about your wonderful program.
You know, look, this conversation today, we'll keep it short and to the point, is really targeted for the providers, my colleagues, the 14,000 gastroenterologists or the 3,000 colorectal surgeons out there. So if you're listening to this and you're a provider, listen closely and share this with your colleagues and partners. And if you're a patient, bring this to your doctor. I looked at it, a couple of years ago. We're sitting there, and I've been doing GI for 20 years almost, trained at University of Miami at Jackson. And, we diagnose colon cancer about 150,000 times a year in this country. And what happened? Wow. We see someone who comes to us with rectal bleeding. They think it's hemorrhoids, or someone who says, hey, feel great. I just ran a marathon. They come for screening. And or someone says, hey, my dad had colon cancer at 52. I'm 45 and just getting checked. And they go to sleep. And about 15, 20 minutes later, give or take, they wake up groggy. And we sit there at the bedside and say, look, I found something and there's some bleeding and it's not from hemorrhoids, but it's from this. And I know it's going to be colon cancer. And then after that, nothing's heard. It's just like they freeze. It's a blank. It's all blur after that. And what happens? Okay, you need to get labs, get a CAT scan, see a surgeon. We'll get the biopsies. I'm here for you. Call my nurse if you need me. Call my office and I'll see you in a week. And then they're on their way home in a dazed and confused. Maybe they're Googling, am I going to die from colon cancer? And maybe they're going to cross a social media post from, say, Fight CRC or the Colorectal Cancer Alliance or the other groups or American Cancer Society. And 10 minutes later, we're back in the room doing an endoscopy for Barrett's. And that's what goes on. And we've been doing this way for decades. I know I've been doing it for 2 decades. And about 2 years ago, I was sitting there and we had this idea like, there's all these great resources. How do we get patients to these resources that are for free? And we came up with a dial a code and text to this number. And we came up with this concept called the Colorectal Cancer Provider Outreach Program. I had an intern. She was a Tulane undergrad going into public health, and she works now in that space. And we drafted this really quickly, and we got hold of some of the larger GI groups and pitched the idea. And we came up with the idea of the Colorectal Cancer Provider Outreach Program. What's the goal? We're having that conversation post-procedure. Hey, look, I found something that looks like cancer. They don't hear anything after that. You need the labs, CAT scans, surgeons, maybe oncologists. I'll see you in a week. Look, I want you to take out your phone right now. I want you to text this number or scan this QR code. Or I want you to go to coloncancer.support. Right now, I want you to go coloncancer.support, and pops up as a PDF with the American Cancer Society and the 4 national colorectal cancer groups, the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, the Fight CRC, the Colon Cancer Coalition, Colon Cancer Foundation. Look, I want you to see these 5 groups. I want you to call them tonight. I want you to get into their websites. I want you to lean into these groups. I'll see you in a week. I'm here for you. I want you to lean into these groups tonight. What we're doing at the bedside is giving our patients an actionable step of accountability. We're giving them guidance. We're giving them direction and reassurance at the bedside. The way I look at it is 150,000 diagnoses. There's probably 3 people per diagnosis affected, a spouse, a child, a parent, whatever. That's like 500,000 people a year directly affected by colon cancer.
Oh, wow.
We got 50,000 deaths, but 150,000 diagnoses. So I'm looking at the diagnosis piece of it. Look, when they call or they click or they go to the American Cancer Society or the other 4 colorectal cancer groups, I'm not so worried what they get from those groups. They can call all of them and get information, each specialized in different things. I know some of them have 24/7, some of them are bilingual. They all provide guidance from people that are experts in this space. And, the one thing is, what's different about colorectal cancer in our world is you have a breast lump, you feel it, you get your mammogram, okay, get an ultrasound, get an acid biopsy, you're awake, you're aware what's going on for 2-3 weeks. Prostate, you get your rectal, your PSA, go get a biopsy, you're awake, you're aware, you kind of know what's going on. Colon cancer, you come to us, it's like, I feel great, I feel wonderful. Oh, I got some hemorrhoids. You go to sleep and 15 minutes later, you wake up and boom, your life is upside down, your blueprint's ripped up, your winter's here.
And it's so surreal because you're like, how could this happen?
Yeah, it is surreal. I just got texted yesterday, or through LinkedIn, someone reached out to me, a GI doctor who runs a program that's involved colon cancer screening and getting people compliant. And he was just telling me, it's like, just my first cousin just got diagnosed at 48 or 46, and I'm still in shock, even though I'm a GI. We see it more and more, especially younger patients. We know this, 45 now, the new 50.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. We see it. But what we don't do and what we continue to fail to do to this day, all of us, me included at times, I got to think about it because it's not in our training. We weren't trained as fellows to say, hey, this is what you need to do when we diagnose cancer. Go to coloncancer.support. We know this program's not going to be integrated into every GI doctor's practice. Our goal is that to slowly integrate it into more and more, get it into the younger doctors, becomes part of their mindset. They do it once, do it twice, and it becomes part of the routine. Look, we add it to your EMR. I have it in my GMED orders. You are not alone. Go to coloncancer.support. You have it on our website. The PDF and what we have is there for you. Listen, if you're Minji or your Gastro Alliance or your Gastro Health or your whatever group you want to be, I don't care. Rockies, I can think of all the big groups, but put on your website, put your branded colors. There's no monetization what we're doing. This is a free resource. There's no hook, there's no sale, there's no collected emails, there's no marketing. This is just like boom.
So you basically took this and you aggregated and curated the best resources out there, all these great organizations that are doing amazing work to help patients. And you're kind of, almost like the handoff, like, okay, this is a diagnosis. You're not alone. It's not about, we're going to come back and have a checkup. Like, this is a serious thing. And here's a support network that can help you right out the gate. And I think that's fabulous. I know this is very targeted towards providers who should give this to their patients. There are patients that listen, and this is important for them to know. They may have a friend or family member, or they may want to tell their doctor about it. And it's key because, Google's a monstrosity, right? And we can make ourselves crazy, even if we don't have a diagnosis and we're trying to diagnose ourselves into something, and we go down these rabbit holes. But you've taken all that work. You've used your medical background and experience to really curate this amazing resource.
I got a team of very dedicated medical students and interns who are constantly sharing this information on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. So we're there. You can follow those handles. There's plenty of QR codes and websites, reminders. We did use we started by texting, like text this.
Yeah, does that still work? Text something?
Yeah, it still works. The numbers got expanded, so it's no longer a short text, it's a longer number. But the QR code has become easier. Just going to coloncancer.support. So coloncancer, one word, .support. That's it. You got to go to there, and that's the best way to find it. And we would love to see other GI groups take this on their patient pop site, on their website, on their brand, whatever. Put it there under their help tabs. We'd love to see this hanging on the walls of every endoscopy center owned by AmSurg or, Physicians Endoscopy. I'd love to see it, the SGNA have all their nurses aware. So the endoscopy nurses know about it. So when the doctor forgets, the nurse is like, I see you just got diagnosed with colon cancer. Don't worry. I've seen it before. If you catch it early, that's the good news. The bad news is it got cancer, but the good news is if we get it early, you got like a 95% survival rate. We're going to get this all your life, and I'll see you in a year and in 3 years and 5 years. And that's it. You're going to survive this and we'll be okay. I want, go to coloncancer.support or go check out, you check out, scan the QR code on the wall. There's 1,000 ways to cut and slice this thing, to share it. We're really been pushing, as you know, that this is something for free. This is something that's open to all members of the, ACG, of the AGA, of the ASGE, of the American
all the medical
surgeons, of the SGNA, Society of Gastroenterologists Nurses, and anyone. This is really provider. It's open to anyone. It's not. There's no story here.
Well, this is fantastic. I mean, I'm so happy that we're speaking about this because, it's like I said, for patients and even for providers, it's overwhelming the amount of information that is out there that can be confusing, inaccurate, and not based in evidence. Right. So this is really, we can assure patients that this is vetted information from credible, trusted sources, and you won't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with it. Have you gotten any feedback yet from the resources?
Of course. The American Cancer Society, when we spoke to them and they got wind of what we're doing, jumped on board within like a week or two. And for that organization to come on board so quickly showed the validity of what we're doing, because it became clear to me, this has a role in almost any cancer. For me, I see us as one of the biggest opportunities for the organizations that we're supporting, the CCA, the Fight CRC, the Colon Cancer Foundation Coalition. We could be the biggest source for them of calls and clicks, because we're like going to the end user. We're going right to the people that want to get there. We're just we're just giving it to them. And the American Cancer Society, obviously, these are powerful resources. They got 24/7 phone, 800 numbers. And each organization has their different niche. Some are more research oriented, some are more clinical oriented, some are more, legislative or changing the laws or get advocates. It's all there. But the biggest thing is, when you're diagnosed with cancer, and I haven't been told I have cancer, thank God, in my life at this point, but we're not really trained in how to do it. But it has to be like, a debilitating, knock the wind out of your sails thing, and scary, and anxiety, and your mind spinning, and all the unknowns and all the anxiety comes. And if it doesn't come then, it's going to come later. And when you're home that night and settling in and the drugs have worn off, what are you doing? You're going to Google, or you're like freaking out. And I'm hoping that this resource provides reassurance and guidance and direction at the time of diagnosis, provided by us, the provider, which gives a lot of validity to it, a lot of direction. And I think that I'm confident, because I've seen it in my own cases. I've seen patients walk out more supported, more at peace and understanding that they're not alone, and more reassured that they're going to have a partner in this. And it may not be a good outcome, and it may not be solved by me or my office or my whatever, but they're not alone. There's resources out there. There's people that can talk to them. And that's
this is really what it's about, because, it's easy to find information about what is something. It's not so easy sometimes to get a diagnosis, but once you have the right diagnosis, it's that for the patient, what's next. And it's like, you've done a great job with giving patients what's next, and also providers helping them feel empowered with this information to give to their patients, so they don't feel helpless either. So this is a win-win for everybody, as much as it's a horrible thing to have cancer, but it's definitely empowering to have access to this type of resource. And I commend you for what you've done.
Well, thanks. One of the things that came to me when we reached out to the colorectal surgeons, it became very clear this is a big step forward to improve patient care. Why? Because when the patient shows up to the colorectal surgeon a week or two, they usually go in without a clue what the options are or what to do. Versus patients who go and educated, like, okay, I'm interested in, laparoscopic, or okay, I don't need a colostomy bag because I know my colon's and whatever on the right, whatever it is. Like the details, the bigger picture conversations could get answered, and they come in a little bit more educated. And more educated patients, a better patient for themselves and for us. Our staff is less burdened by follow-up calls and the voicemails and chasing back on what do I do next with it. It's like, what does this mean? So it takes the burden off a lot of people. We're giving the patient power.
Yes, and that's
an actionable step of accountability in a very scary time, in a dark and scary place. And that's what we're doing. And that's why we really, are proud to openly support, the ACG and the AGA and the ASG as the center points of the gastroenterology community in our country, as the leaders. We see what we're doing as, a complete value add to all their members in terms of providing the highest level of care. And are we going to reach every gastroenterologist in this country? No. Are we going to reach every colorectal surgeon? No. Are we going to reach every patient? No. But you know what? If we have one person and one family and one person more reassured, all the effort's worth it.
Absolutely. Well, I am so honored again to speak with you about this program. And I'm going to do what I can do and get the word out with our various channels with GI OnDEMAND and Gastro Girl. Really appreciate our conversation. And again, thank you so much for doing this for gastroenterologists and most importantly for patients and their families.
And I'm going to end by saying we are looking like really hard for raving fans of what we're doing and advocates of what we're doing to help us put the message forward. And whether it be patients who are passionate about the blue hearts and the blue ribbons and the blue world, or doctors that are looking to say, this is a cool idea. How can we help share this? Or how can I get this to my colleagues or my practice? Or some of these GI groups have 300, 500 doctors now. I mean, how do we get there? That's what we love to connect with you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with us through any of the handles. You can connect with me through Gastro Girl. We're no secret. We're very transparent. We're happy to give you all the tools to share this with your patients and in your communities and your states or wherever that may be. So thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. This is fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Gastro Girl Podcast. For more information and resources, please visit gastrogirl.com. Do you have a question for Gastro Girl? Please email podcast@gastrogirl.com. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in the Gastro Girl Podcast are not a substitute for medical advice from your healthcare professional. Please consult a licensed clinician in your state regarding all matters related to your health.